Yeah,
That's all.
thank you, Nicole. Yeah, thank you, Nicole. It's very good to have all the supports you and everybody else is giving me. And we just passed 600 clients this morning, and that gives me a great power behind me when I'm doing the negotiations and such things. And that is very, very good for me, and it put me in a very good position. Absolutely. I was telling my team to start with that we need to have at least 300 people, 300 clients. That is a kind of critical mass of clients when I'm doing negotiations and such things. The dream was to have 500 clients because that is a kind of magic number, so to say. And having as many as 600 clients at the moment, that is something that was more or less something I actually didn't believe we would manage. So I'm very, very proud of all the response I have had, and all the people who has put faith in me. And it's going to be so interesting and exciting to go into all these negotiations with this power behind me. I could also say that within 10 days, I'm attending a conference in Zurich, in Switzerland, for lawyers who has been engaged and committed into the cannabis business and cannabis industry. So there are lawyers from all over the world who is attending this conference. It's a 2-day conference in Zurich. And I'm there, and it might be even that I'm going to be one of the speakers at this event, because it's the talk of the town, so to say, what has happened with Juicyfields, and my name has been around quite a lot recently. So it's going to be interesting to meet all these people. I don't know how many there are attending the conference, but it's quite a large conference, and it's lawyers from all over the world. And I could also say that in the end of September, in a month, I'm planning to do a tour all over Europe, visiting more or less all the major countries, and try to arrange for all the clients to meet me as well. I know that some of you had to travel a bit, but anyway, I'm trying to facilitate as much as I can for arranging all of you to meet me if you have the opportunity. So that is also in my plan, and that is coming in the end of September, beginning of October. And I could also say that I'm now going into my first legal actions within just a couple of days. I have made all the preparations, and the first thing I'm going to do is to send out letters, hard copies actually, to the CEOs of the 4 companies I have presented earlier. Forbes, Facebook, Instagram, and Google. And I have identified the individuals who I'm going to approach, and have made preparations for them to receive my documentation and such things. And then we had to see what is happening. I'm giving them a week, 10 days to come back to me with some kind of response. If I haven't had any response, I'm going to file lawsuits in a number of courts all over Europe. And I'm also planning my second batch of legal actions, and those are coming in the end of September. And we are just now planning a very large press conference when I'm doing the presentations of these second batch actions. And it's going to target 3 organizations. I can't tell you exactly who they are right now, because I need to keep that information for myself for a while. But there are 3 organizations, and it's going to be a very large press conference when I'm presenting these legal actions. And those legal actions, I'm not going to do what I do with the first batch, sending a letter and trying to have some kind of out-of-court discussion. In those cases, this is going public. Completely public, and I'm going to file court procedures in 3 different countries, actually. So that is in the loop, and everything is planned and under preparation right now. Okay, so if you have any questions, please give them to me.
There is a question in the chat here. Do you want me to read it for you?
Yes, please, Daniel.
I think it's a question you get a lot of times, so it's a good one to answer. Last week you said that you will tell us how much you will ask for the 4 companies in the first batch to pay us for damages.
Yes.
Any idea now regarding that amount, and what is the chance to get it?
I could tell you that the normal fee, so to speak, when we are talking about Facebook and Instagram and these companies, it's in the billions, actually. And because having claiming damages for a couple of 100 million euros, that is coffee money. That is just pocket money for these companies. So it must be something that is hitting them quite severe. So I'm talking about at least 1 billion euros per company. That is my claim to begin with. And as I have said, the claim is not linked to how much you have lost. In these cases, the claim is a kind of penalty fee for incorrect business practice. It's called incorrect business practice within the legal framework. You have done an incorrect business practice because you haven't checked who you are doing business with. And the problem for these companies is that if I go public and do a lawsuit against these companies, and also I'm bringing this into the EU Commission, for instance, and the different countries' oversight committees, then there is a problem for these companies, because it could be a political issue, and it could be that governments all over Europe says that we want to implement new regulations when it comes to doing a due diligence process of who you are doing business with. And that targets the business model they are using. And they don't want that kind of discussions with governments. So if the government steps in instead of me, the penalty for these companies would be far more than a billion euros. Far more than $1 billion. So my claim to begin with is that I'm asking each and every of these companies for 1 billion euros in damages. And the damages is not linked to how much you have lost. The damages is linked to the bad business practice they have commenced. So that is the answer on this question. It could be more, but it's at least 1 billion euros per company.
Thank you, Lars. And there's 2 more questions now.
Yes.
The first one here is, when do you plan to talk with the banks?
Yes, I'm doing preparations, and I'm going through all the legal things when it comes to what is called the compliance regulations. And I need the statistics that you have sent me. That's one of the reasons I'm asking for all the information through the form and all the transactions that you have been doing. So what I'm now doing is to go through all this material to look into how much the banks has faulted, how much they have failed in the compliance regulations. And what I want to do is to present to them. I know how the system should have been working. And according to my calculations and my assessments is that of all these transactions you have made, not more than 1, maybe 1.5% of all the transaction would have been allowed in the system. 98-99% of all the transactions you have issued shouldn't be done and should have been stopped. So what I'm now doing is to do a calculation how much of these transactions has actually been done, and how many of these transactions has been halted for investigation and then cleared after some days. So when I have all these statistics, then I could show exactly to the banks how the system should have been working and how the system had worked. And that is that takes some time, and I'm going to be helped by a friend of mine who is very good at mathematics and statistics and such things as well. So we have to crunch the numbers, so to say, for a while. So the banks is definitely in the beginning of October, the first banks, and they are going to be the UK banks, because they are the ones who has been mostly involved in the transactions. So just a week or maybe 2 weeks after my second batch of legal actions, it comes the banks. The banks comes a week or 2 weeks into October, the first banks.
Thank you.
And I should also say that there is a logic in my legal strategy when it comes to who I'm targeting first and second and third and so on. Because what happened in the first batch has an effect on the second batch and an effect on the third batch as well. So I need to have some reactions from the first batch to put into my strategy when I'm doing the second batch and the third batch. So that's why I'm doing it in different batches, and that's why I'm doing it in a legal sequence, so to say.
Thank you, Lars.
And I could also say that when I've been talking about batches, I haven't made any calculation how many batches, but there are for sure going to be at least 10 batches from what I could see right now. And there are going to be procedures for, up to a year from now. That doesn't say that the result is coming within a year, but there is going to be a result from each and every of these batches. But there are going to be batches and legal actions that I put into these batches for at least a year from now, as I could see. For instance, I have a list of, I think it was 67 banks at the moment. and it's impossible for me to do all the banks at the same time. And it could be favorable for me to take some of the banks to begin with, the lowest hanging fruits, so to say, and then I have some kind of praxis and something that I could fall back to when I'm talking to other banks and so on. So if I pick one or two easy banks to begin with, that helps me with the discussions with other banks as well, because it has a kind of procedure to the process.
Thank you, Lars. There's a few more questions here. I'm just gonna go ahead with them.
Yes, please.
So many people who I know have a good relationship to their banks and be afraid that the bank cancel the contract to them. So what solution do you have for these people and these clients?
Yes, that's a good question, because this has been up for discussions from time to time, individual between me and some of my clients. And I have also had clients who has said that even if you have a kind of safety system, so the banks is never going to have the possibility to identify a specific claimer and a specific client, even if I have a foolproof system, and I have, they have said that there are 2 or 3 clients who have said that we want to be left out when you're targeting the banks. We're happy about the other facilitators and so on, but when it comes to the banks, my situation, my relationship with my bank is so sensitive. So I just cannot take the risk of having the banks investigated who I am and so on. And it's okay for me. So I could say that when I'm coming to the banks, I'm going to present to everybody who the next batch of banks are that I'm going to target. And then I'm going to ask all of you, all the clients, if they want to be left out from this bank that I'm targeting. So I'm not going to force anyone to be part of the claims against the banks or any specific banks. So everybody has the chance to be left out if they feel uncomfortable or something like that. But I should also say that I have a system where I'm doing all my clients anonymous for the banks. And they are also anonymous when it comes to Facebook or whatever it is, and so on. And so that is a client privilege information. And I'm going to do everything anonymous, and that is going through the Nota office in Sweden. So when I'm presenting my clients, I have a list of a number of clients, and they are more like Mrs. X and Mr. Y and so on. And then there is a reference number to the Nota who has made the certificate that yes, this is a real individual, but we are not going to disclose his or her identity. So that is how this works. And that is a protocol I've been using before, so it works perfectly. But as I said, anyway, if there are someone who says that I don't feel comfortable anyway, then I could be left out. And I'm going to give everybody the opportunity to say that I want to be left out when I'm targeting a specific bank or the banks in general.
Thank you, Lars. So I'll just continue with the next question here. It's a very good one too. Yes. So my bank made me sign a paper to have no responsibility on the transfers I did. So will this still work to be a client to you?
Yeah, a simple answer is no. This you cannot a bank cannot sign some kind of agreement with a client saying that the bank is now not responsible for the action. That kind of agreement isn't a legal agreement. And I could also say that those who have signed that kind of agreement with the bank, that is more damaging for the banks than if they haven't done anything. So this is one example of the incorrect business practice from the bank's side. A bank could have that, and I could give you an example. If you were sending money to the terrorist organization ISIS, for instance, and the bank says, yeah, well, we don't want to send the money to ISIS, but if you sign this paper, it's okay for us to send money to ISIS. That doesn't work. So it's preposterous for the banks to say that we have now made an agreement with our clients, with our customers, that we allow you to send money to some criminals. That is so stupid. And if that kind of paper would appear in court, the bank would be so disgraced by this behavior. So, and that's one of the things I'm going to present to the banks and said that, do you want these papers to appear in public, or do you want to do a deal with me?
Thank you, Lars. So next question here is, if one of the first targets don't react, could it take years, like in the article we saw in this morning?
No. The normal procedure in all these this kind of procedure is that you are doing the first thing I'm doing, saying that let's do a settlement out of court, and there is this threat of doing things publicly, and if they don't, I'm filing the court procedures and all these kind of things, and we are going to do press releases and make a lot of public and a lot of media attention to this. And in all normal circumstances, especially when I'm presenting my case and what is the alternatives for these companies, my experience is that we have a settlement out of court, even if there is a court procedure to begin with. We have a settlement out of court within a month or two. That is my experience. That is what has happened before. They don't want any prolonged procedures and so on. And I could tell you, all these court procedures, even if I'm filing a lawsuit in court, the statistics today, and this is general all over Europe, more than 95% of all lawsuits are settled out of court sooner or later. So there is some kind of settlement, there is some kind of agreement before there is a judgment. Very, very few of these cases, these civil cases, lawsuits, are actually ending up in a judgment. And if you are going through a judgment process and having a judgment through all the different levels of courts, because there is appeal courts and high courts and so on, that could take years, absolutely. But in this case, and in most cases, as I said, more than 95% of the cases, they are settled outside court, even if they're started by a court procedure. So, and in an average, it takes about 2 months. And I should also say that in a pre-hearing process, and the pre-hearing process is within a month or something, about a month after you have filed a civil procedure and a lawsuit in courts, the judge always try to force a settlement. So that the judge is always someone who tries to negotiate and be a middleman between the two counterparts. So very, very few of these lawsuits ended up in a final judgment after 2 or 3 or 4 years. So I would say, on an average, if that's the alternative, that we are actually doing a lawsuit and make it public, within a couple of months we have a settlement.
Thank you, Lars.
Yep.
So we have 9 minutes left of the Zoom.
Yes.
And right now, no more questions from the chat. So if someone wants to unmute themselves and ask Lars something, it's fine, I guess.
Yes, please go on.
But I think you answered a lot of people's questions already with these questions.
Yeah, and I could tell you that there are a number of different kind of technicalities and so on. And I'm going to inform everybody about the different procedures and how I'm thinking and the strategy in detail. Some of the information I still need to keep for myself because it's so sensitive information. But as I have said, my policy is to be as transparent as possible and try to give you as much information as possible. And talking about transparency and security, I could tell you that on a daily basis, 1 or 2 occasions every day, people approach me and send me emails claiming that they are victims. But when I'm doing a number of questions to them and check their references and so on, it turns out that these are actually representatives for the individuals, for the criminals who are fishing for information and trying to mess with my job and trying to make me doing unnecessary job or whatever it is. So on a daily basis, I am approached by fake profiles, fake email addresses, and people who are trying to fish for information. There is a lot of interest of what I'm doing. And that's why I'm saying I need to have some kind of security when I'm coming to. So it's a balance between giving you as much information as possible and keeping some information for myself, because I need that kind of information for myself in my strategy and in my bargaining position. Okay. Yeah.
No, thank you. We got some more questions here in the chat. So for all these actions, is 100 euro going to be enough for all the team expenses from Alma?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And the 100 euros covers my expenses, my overhead expenses. And that is traveling, and that is legal fees and such things that I have to do. When I'm doing a press conference, for instance, we have to book a hotel and some kind of conference rooms and so on. So when I have done the budget for this assignment, I said to myself that 100 euros, that is enough, and that is what I need. But I don't need more money from. So it's not going to happen that I'm coming back to my clients and says that, well, I have spent all the money. I need you to send me 100 euro more. That is not going to happen. That is a guarantee from my side. But it's not going to happen that I am coming back and ask for more money from you.
It seems here no one wants to unmute himself and ask something, but I don't know how to unmute him. You have to do it yourself. No one? Yeah.
Yes,
Perfect.
I can do it.
Hey.
I did it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I have many answers for my questions till now, so
Good.
I have no question for you. I just really want to say thank you, and thank you to be a part of your case. And,
thank you. Yeah. I'm
I have
very
to go
honored.
off, and I just want to say that to you.
Yes. Thank you. I'm very, very honored, and I'm absolutely honest about this. I'm very, very honored to have 600 people who I'm represented. That gives me goosebumps, I could tell you. and it's going to be so fun and exciting to make the results for everybody. And I'm fully convinced that we are going to do some good business together. That is for sure. And it's a wonderful network as well. Because what we have been talking, me and my business partner, Mrs. Nina, is that after all these proceedings and everything, wow, what a business network of 600 people all over the world. That could be something that we could use in the future. But for now, we are focusing on the Juicyfields case. But when that is gone and everything is sorted out, then we have some plans to use this network of 600 or even more people, and for your benefit, and try to make something good out of it. So what we could see now is that this network of people doesn't stop when the Juicyfields case is ended. That is just the beginning of something interesting in the future as well. I can't tell you any details, but we just say that is a great potential for everybody to have to be part of that network. That is a unique global network of people that could be used for many kind of things in the future.